It is Wednesday, March 19th. I'm Damon Bruce. He's Cyrus. The Plus, brought to you by Ike Sandwiches, and we are bringing you Warriors Weekly in conjunction with our friend over at Golden Days. We're streaming across both channels. Like and subscribe to both channels. It's great to have you here. And Cyrus, we have just done the full Warriors experience in the last 48 hours. I think arguably their worst loss in several years, certainly this year, certainly with the price of poker that's gone up after the Jimmy Butler trade. They laid down and died in a game that was gift wrapped to them at home by the Nuggets, but then they come back for it the very next night without Curry, make up for it with a, rock fight, bare knuckle boxing win over the Milwaukee Bucks. So as angry as I was about the last worst game I had seen, then they beat the Milwaukee Bucks, and that was almost as good a win as Monday was as bad a loss.
I agreed. I went on social media. Great to see you, by the way, and great to see the audience on a Wednesday morning. I went on social media last night, and courtesy of Bet Online, the official sports book, at least for Golden Days, the world's most trusted betting platform, the game starts here. I got one sponsor plug-in right there. I'm done there with Bet Online.
Integrated into the show. People didn't even know.
I did.
Sold to. That was so smooth.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. The line last night was Bucks minus 2.5. I couldn't believe that. And Larry last night, I did a show with our mutual buddy, Larry Kruger. And he said he was not surprised by the line. I was a little surprised to see the Warriors underdogs at home, which is what the line was. And so I actually told people on social media, dude, I have a great feeling about this, man, because I look at the Warriors in this manner. They're a great team. And last night, they responded the way great teams do. They lost a game to the Nuggets that I think is fair to say was very winnable. I think it's fair to say the Warriors did not show up for that game. I know we're looking at Stephen Curry and exhaustion, and everyone just pointed that finger immediately. Fair. No disagreement that Stephen Curry needed a night off. In hindsight, I wish he had Monday night off instead. If Jokic and Jamal Murray and Christian Brown are taking the night off, Steph, I feel like, should have taken the night off as well. He didn't. Hindsight's 2020. What are you going to do? But they lose a game that they should have won. They came out flat for a lot of that Nuggets game, and they responded last night the way great teams do. They don't let games like that linger, fester, permeate in a locker room in the minds of each individual player, and they beat a Bucks team that is very good. That's important to note here. I don't know if they're a championship contender, but they're a damn good team. Draymond Green put the clamps down on Giannis Antetokounmpo. That was a vintage defensive performance. I know we're going to talk about that today, but I feel like the Warriors did last night what great teams do. They come back from disappointments like that, and they win when they have to. They win when it matters. And dude, this team is now 15-2, 14-2 with Jimmy Butler. It's insane.
Right. They're looking at it this way. I don't know where Jimmy comes in or out of it. They're 13-2 in their last 15 games. Overall, that's what the Warriors are. What I hated the most about the loss to Denver wasn't just squandering the opportunity to make hay while the sun is shining, as the old folks used to say. I mean, you got to take advantage of Jokic is not there tonight. Yes. No Jamal Murray. You got to push that button. The sloppiness in that game, giving up 19 offensive rebounds, giving up 53 total rebounds. I mean, they got worked like they were a YMCA team who's already thinking about lunch more than we got next. And for it to be this time of the year, just after Steve Kerr becomes, passes Al Attles as the winningest coach in Warriors history, an absolute team-wide letdown, eye off the ball, didn't even really get changed or tie their sneakers right for the game. Like, the worst habits of bad Warriors basketball were on full display. And then I can get over it because, Cyrus, this is what the thumbnail is about today. This is the bullies are in town. Draymond and Jimmy Butler, I think, were at their most Draymond-y and Butler-ish last night, right? Yeah. They were exactly who they need to be for this team to really go somewhere with consequences attached to it. Jimmy Butler has an ability to be the alpha dog offensively. And that's on a night where Steph Curry is on the floor. Now, obviously, Curry wasn't on the floor, so there was a grand invitation for Jimmy to become that. And in the fourth quarter, he did. He put the entire offensive game plan on his back, and he just said, I'm going to the rim. I'm going to make the right decision. I'll kick out to Podziemski, who just hit, two of his biggest threes in his young career last night to seal that game. It was awesome level Jimmy. It was he from the free throw line getting it done where Jimmy didn't get it done from the free throw line the night before. It felt like just everybody got the message that games like that can't happen anymore. Whether Steph is playing or not, no matter who's playing for the other team, it is March. We are trying to do something. We cannot have nights off like that. There is no more, burn the tape. Those games happen. No, not at this point in the year. They don't. Not for good teams that are going places. So it was really good to see the best of Jimmy offensively. And
absolutely. And just to provide some perspective here, Jimmy Butler, when the trade happened, and I'm looking at the schedule now, so I have all my facts right. Jimmy Butler's first game was on Saturday, February 8th at Chicago. And the Warriors at that point, it's crazy how much the script has flipped from February 8th to now, because the Warriors were 25-26 when they acquired Jimmy Butler. They're now 40-29. Very important to note that one of those losses Jimmy didn't play in. And early in the Jimmy Butler experience with the Golden State Warriors, I'm sure you remember this game, Damon. 3 games in, they lost that ridiculously, you could say rigged, and I believe you, game at Dallas. We all remember that. The refs were literally handing the fans their flowers to make them feel better about Luka. But the way they responded the very next day.
Kyrie also played his dick off that night.
That too, yeah. Yes. But the way they responded the very next night, they had a back-to-back the next night in Houston. And this was right before the All-Star break. And normally this team would have just said, you know what, we're aging. I don't think they're in denial about their age. And, let's just move on and forget. No, they came out with a fervor, with a vengeance, and they beat Houston in Houston because, again, that's what great teams do. They don't get on losing streaks. They don't let losses fester. And they took care of business. They righted the ship, and they did the same thing last night. Jimmy Butler, dude, he's exceeding the wildest dreams imaginable. They're now 15-2 when he plays. And I don't know if you agree with ESPN yesterday had a whole panel discussion on NBA Today about who the second best team in the Western Conference is. And you now have panelists, again, for what that's worth, but you now have national media panelists calling the Warriors the second best team in the West. And I do think OKC is beatable.
Denver's their kryptonite. The minute they see Denver in the postseason, their season's going to end in that round. Hopefully
play again on April 4th.
Hopefully somebody knocks the Nuggets out. The Warriors are just a bad matchup. I mean, Aaron Gordon looked just unstoppable. They don't have the right bodies for that matchup. I think that their experience could absolutely get them to upset OKC. I'd take a puncher's chance against the Lakers. Here's the thing. They're in a conversation that 6 weeks ago, they weren't even involved in the conversation. So, that's the big turnaround. And Jimmy Butler, I don't know if he is the best other guy. I'm not willing to define him in any other way other than like the playoff Jimmy that you used to see is the guy that basically has showed up since the trade. This basically is playoff Jimmy. And when you get a playoff Jimmy, what you're saying is we got a player on the court who's a force of nature. Jimmy Butler is a force of nature. And that brings me to the reigning king force of nature of the Golden State Warriors, and that's Draymond Green. And the two of these guys, with very little fanfare of the two of them and their personalities and their toxic traits and their best trait, like there has not been an awful lot of let's talk about Jimmy and Draymond together. That is a force of nature that I don't know the NBA is really ready for come playoff time. I mean, this is, how do the Warriors shock the whole fucking world and win the NBA title? Okay, Steph is unconscious, and these two guys are straight up basketball bullies, just pushing people, wills, game plans all over the basketball court. And that is what I want to talk about here and now, because if there were a channel that only showed the matchup of Draymond and Giannis last night, and you didn't even see any other player on the court, I would have watched that. What a matchup Draymond and Giannis were last night. First of all, the both of them are outstanding players in two totally different bodies with completely different skill sets and personalities, yet almost the same ability to affect the game. Defensively, Giannis is a freaking monster. He is immovable. He is too strong. Unless he runs into Draymond Green, who figures out a way to move him and just get that elbow in the chicken wing and just put out just a little bit. And is that a foul? Is that a little dirty? That's just fucking NBA basketball in March, baby. Like that was awesome. In the choppiest, let's go to the tape, let's review it for 30 seconds too long. Every single review, the Milwaukee Bucks are like watching paint dry as a basketball team. I mean, that was an awesome game within the game to watch.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it last night. And Draymond is like, he's feeling it right now. He's a little bit on one. And I'd like to bring to you, Cyrus, a little something that he said. This is him talking with Anthony Slater last night. Anthony Slater post-game had this back and forth with Draymond. I want to play about the first 45 seconds of this where Draymond is actually considering where he would come into a Defensive Player of the Year conversation, since award seasons, as Anthony Slater starts his questioning with, is right around the corner. Here you go.
It's award season, getting towards it. Do you think you have a Defensive Player of the Year case this year?
I think, obviously, we keep winning and close this year out strong. Most definitely. When I look around the league, I don't see many players impacting the game on the defensive end the way I do. I don't see many players completely throwing off an entire team's offense the way I do. So, 1,000%. Especially with Wemby going down, it seemed like he had it won, and now it's right there. So, 1,000,000%. I have a case, and I'll continue to build that case for these next 13 games.
So there's Draymond saying 1,000,000% he's got a case. And I'll say this, I don't know if the numbers of the Warriors' entire season-long defensive abilities will get him over that line. They probably weren't good enough because they became a much better team when Jimmy got here. But if defensive versatility and disrupting game plans were the two biggest moving talking points in who gets Defensive Player of the Year, in the way that Michael Jordan could have been named MVP every year that he was in the league,
yes,
Draymond conceptually could be named Defensive Player of the Year every year that he's been in the league. Now, look, there have been years where Draymond has been not locked in and not at his best and kind of disruptive and destructive, and we all know the complicated story of Draymond Green. But when locked in, when playing, there is nobody who offers his head coach more defensive versatility. I can pick up your center. I can pick up your point guard at 90 feet. Who else can do that? Who else can do that in this league?
No one. No one, David. First of all, this much Draymond and Jimmy Butler discussion, I feel, commands an oi, oi, oi.
Hey.
I'm like feasting. Thank you. It was bubbling inside me. I mean, you can't talk about those two. You're absolutely right. They're bullies. They're menaces. One of the many reasons why I love the game of basketball is because the mental warfare aspect of it bears a lot of relevancy. And it's a huge reason why, as much as I love analytics, and I do feel like it has a role depending on the situation and the circumstance. I don't view basketball the way I view baseball in terms of the money ball stuff being applicable. And there's no analysis for mental strength in basketball, yet it's such a vitally important variable. Draymond Green is a perfect example of that. And when it comes to Defensive Player of the Year, I'm glad you brought this up because I've been a massive critic of the award system in the NBA for a lot of years. Case in point, here in the San Francisco Bay Area, fourth largest media market in the country. Some people will say Dallas. No, it is the San Francisco Bay Area. Actually, do your research.
It flips every couple of years. It depends who moved to what place, but yeah, every few years it changes.
It does. And but I always stick with debate with SF as 4 simply because when you factor in the money and influence, we're beating Dallas. So anyways, the point is it's the 4th largest media market, yet we have altogether 1 vote when it comes to media voting. And the NBA has set it up where, and I'm sure you know this, but I don't know if the audience knows this, where the San Francisco Chronicle and the Mercury News, they alternate each year with 1 vote. And depending on which organization it is on the year, I don't know which one gets even and odd, but their editors then decide who gets to get that vote. It's absurd. There's no transparency. There's a lack of representation. And I bring this up because with Draymond Green, the fact that he only has 1 Defensive Player of the Year award and Rudy Gobert has 4 exposes the ignorance of this whole award process, exposes the fact that Kendrick Perkins has a vote. That's absurd to me, man. Like, that dude has 0 journalistic experience, 0 media experience.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I think that I honestly don't think media should almost be even involved in these postseason awards, given the fact that the awards are directly tied to levels of income.
Hey, it's crazy.
You should not have, if you're first team all NBA, you start getting eligible for Supermax in ways that guys who don't get that aren't. So
yeah.
I think almost the media needs to, it should be NBA head coaches voting on these. NBA head coaches should vote on Defensive Player of the Year because they're the ones who understand NBA defense. They're the ones who understand the guys that they're game planning against each and every night. And I don't think you'd find too many coaches who would tell you that Rudy Gobert is bad at anything. Rudy Gobert is a very good defensive center. Let's not pretend.
Sir. Yes, sir.
But the minute he has to pick up the guard on a switch, that's when you beat the team that Rudy Gobert is playing for.
Not to mention Rudy Gobert can't even guard the best big in the game, Nikola Jokic, who
not a lot of guys can. I mean, I'll give him that.
But again, 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards, and so that's insane to me. Draymond Green deserves way more than just 1. I've gone on a lot of rants about that because it's completely absurd.
To properly frame Draymond's career, only letting him leave the league with 1 Defensive Player of the Year award is comically detached from the last decade and a half of basketball we just watched.
Easily. It reminds me a lot of Kobe Bryant. Like, Kobe Bryant only has 1 MVP, which is equally absurd to me. But again, this is where your point is confirmed in that maybe the media should not be handling this because the media and Kobe did not have the greatest relationship, and they penalized them for that with MVP awards. And I feel like Draymond Green is in a similar situation where he's being penalized. Like this season, for example, I do think he should win Defensive Player of the Year, especially with the Warriors now being relevant again. But you're likely going to have Dyson Daniels win it because the narrative is what takes over. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I would say Draymond made a couple of really good points in the 45, 50 seconds that we played from you from that Slater video. And the fact that he said, look, in terms of I'm paraphrasing here. He knows he may not have the raw numbers to qualify for this. He knows that the overall defensive net rating of the Warriors might not be sexy enough to really get him over the hump for this. So what he's saying is there's so much more than can be measured. And if defensive versatility were a part of the conversation, how can I be out of it?
Well, and
he's right about that. And then what he also said, and this is the big factor, is since Victor Wembanyama is out of the conversation, that opens it up for the field now. And I am more than just a guy in the field. I am at the front of the field behind Victor Wembanyama, who, again, look, if you're going to average 6 blocks a game, like, here's your fucking trophy, dude. I mean, there you go. But Draymond, this run that the Warriors are on right now, the absence of Wembanyama, and just the hot, fresh memory of just him grinding into the hip of Giannis for 40 minutes last night. Yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to take my case to the Supreme Court to make the argument, but on the steps of the court, I'll be like, hey, it could be Draymond's. Let's just think about it for a minute. But yeah, I mean,
there's also Damon, when it comes to NBA defense, there's no specific measurable that indicates who is the best at this, right? Like you can measure steals, right? But you also have a lot of players who routinely record high numbers of steals, yet they're exposed defensively in a lot of other measures. Like I hate to call out Stephen Curry's defense, because I actually think he's a fantastic defensive player, but he's not the best defensive player. And I think 2 seasons ago,
he's an acceptable defensive presence.
He's acceptable. And the reason why I bring him up is because defensive rating is a stat that some people turn to. And I threw that, I crumpled that up metaphorically and threw it away, because Stephen Curry led all guards in defensive rating just 2 years ago. Again, fantastic defensive player, not the best among all guards, though. That's absurd. Yet defensive rating said that he was the best guard. So I don't look at that stat. There's no one stat. It's hard to really rely on measurables. It is an eye test award, I think. And Draymond this year, I don't know how you cannot give it to him when he's the only guy in the NBA who can lock down 1 through 5. There's no one else. That's insane. He is, and that's why the Warriors don't win any titles without him.
Guys who are billed as they're able to do it, but no coach asked them to actually go do that.
No, Draymond's defense is why a death lineup exists. It's why the dynasty exists. He's so unique as someone who can guard centers and point guards. I don't know if there's anyone else who's ever done that. So I'm with you, man. In the all-time rankings, Draymond went a little too far. He said he's the greatest all-time defensive player. I think that's a slight reach, but it's also fair to put him in that conversation.
There was this guy named Bill Russell.
Well, and Dennis Rodman's another one,
right? Dennis Rodman was a better rebounder than he was a pure defender, too. Let's not pretend that Dennis was. Anyway, Rodman was awesome defensively. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, here's the thing. I don't know about all time, and all time honestly doesn't matter to this conversation at all, Draymond. We're talking about now.
Yeah.
Now, who's the best defender? And this man remains in the conversation, and he might be able to jump in here and steal the pot at the end of the poker game, because the biggest hand on the table in Wembanyama has folded, no longer playing, and the Warriors right now are getting the attention that swings undecided votes their way. So let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Since we're talking defensive basketball, let's talk about 2 other guys who played their asses off last night against Dame Lillard. We saw a really good game out of Moses Moody, and I'm thinking, Cyrus, this is some of the best basketball we've seen from Gary Payton II. I always thought Gary Payton II was like all right, if he's available, it's a nice little add-on, but I'm not expecting much. Not a lot of consequence comes there. A really good defensive possession that turns into a fast break, and everyone's like, Gary Payton, and then not a lot happens. This guy is like 13 points a night with great defense in like the last handful of games I'm watching. And he has really, really played some great basketball lately.
Phenomenal. I still maintain that his defense in 2022 ranks among the all-time greatest single-season performances defensively. GP2 in 2022 was as close to a literal lockdown defender as you're ever going to find. I mean, the man was giving Nikola Jokic massive problems in that first round series. To provide some context for just how much of an impact his 6'2", 195-pound frame is causing out there. I know he's primarily defending guards and wings, but that's how good he was. He was giving Jokic. He was guy. Jokic was trying to shake him off, and it was getting in his head.
It's what Don Nelson did to defend bigs. You put a big body on him, then you put a little pest in his pocket, all down around his hips, and that's who he was.
That's what 2007, the We Believe team, that when they beat the Mavericks, that was the exact strategy. You're 100% correct. But so GP2, I think defensively, I don't know if he's at the same level he was 3 years ago, but I will say this. Over the last 2 months, and I'm trying to pull up his stats right now, because offensively, I don't have any disagreement that offensively, this is the best he's ever been in his career. I've already expressed this for the Golden Days exclusive audience, that all the criticism of GP2 early this season, which was never fun to dish out to begin with, because he's such a good dude. The positive energy he brings is infectious. I don't like I never took a single minutia of pleasure criticizing this guy, and I'm so relieved that now we can praise him again. I don't know what was going on early in the season, but right now he is playing fantastic ball. He's a mood calmer out there, if you will. Like he settles things when he's on the court, and he's a stabilizer, and it's fantastic. I think the 3-point shooting though sticks out the most in the month of March. To provide some context here, GP2 in the month of March, and we're talking now about 10 games here, 44.4% shooting from deep. And that's where I think the biggest change has occurred is his 3-point shooting. In the month of February, 40% from deep. In the month of January, 38.5% from deep. This is following up December where he shot just 13.3% from deep.
I mean,
and just finish up in November, 16.7%. That's how bad it was, and that's how good it is now from a 3-point perspective. Sorry, go ahead.
They're not 13-2 over their last 15 without him.
Yeah,
they're not. And it is, it's funny too, getting back to Draymond for a second, talking about all his praise defensively. What I really think has unlocked a great season from Draymond is he's been so much more involved offensively. I'm not saying he is, let that 3 fly, but he considers it. He considers it more, and I think teams have to respect it a little bit more. It's been a great year from Draymond, and we just had a statement from Chef A up in the lower third, and she's right. He has done such a good job not being a distraction, not getting in the way of anything, not becoming, Draymond giving into his worst temptations. Maybe this is maturity. It finally has happened. Maybe this is a appreciative and very, Draymond realizes that he is a curator of something that is historic that is going to go into the museum. And if you are going to seriously have one more true moment of glory, it's now or never. It's this year or next year, or it ain't happening again.
I hope the Warriors don't have that mentality of like, well, we have next year. You're a year older, and that matters at this point. But go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
Year with Jimmy. He's coming, he's in the mix for the entire year next year. The Warriors have a window that is, we are at the end of it. And I think that there's a level of appreciation that is helping Draymond remain on his best behavior. And he really has unlocked a level of offensive acumen that we haven't seen him apply to the last few seasons. So it's again, the vibes on this team can't be good without Draymond being in charge of those vibes. And Draymond feels he's got that. He's at peace with what is happening on his team. He's frisky about his own prospects. This is exactly where you want him.
Well, and he's almost, you could tell that he can be himself again. The Jordan Poole ramifications, the aftershocks, that lasted, man. I mean, it carried over to this. It was this season when Jordan Poole was saying in post-game quotes how he likes most of the people in that locker room. And Draymond Green had to respond to a Mark Spears tweet saying, like, I'm sorry. Like, what, it's two plus years later. And I do think that moment, though, was a bit of a closure for again, an incident that has lingered for years. He can be himself again. Draymond Green, one of many reasons why I love this guy is because he recognizes the greatness of Stephen Curry like all of us. And he understands how unique and generational Stephen Curry is when it comes to greatness. He's doing this because he's playing alongside Stephen Curry. And that's his motivation. Make sure that guy gets the legacy that he deserves. And the fact that Draymond Green thinks like that is incredible. He is a self-aware individual. Like, he knows how sometimes he can,
which is why it's been so maddening along the way. Because you cannot have this much personality. You cannot be this acutely aware of all that is going on around you. And you cannot be this good at what you do and not know that you're also giving into your biggest asshole tendencies all at the same time. So it's like he allowed himself to do it. He gave himself permission to give into his worst habits at times. And I feel like he's taken that permission away from himself in the name of doing right historically by this team, this franchise, his teammates, this dynasty, and himself. Draymond can, how about this? If he doesn't do anything that is really terrible from here on out, he's a Hall of Famer.
I think the Hall of Famer regardless.
They probably can't even take it away from him.
No, I don't think they can. That's just me.
But this is a Hall of Fame level basketball player who I think has officially reached the, all right, I'm an old head now, as the kids say. I'm a veteran enough where I got to start leading by example. And my example needs to be controlled fury, not uncontrolled fury. And
let's not forget the Saginaw, Michigan in him, right? Like Danny Everman, one of the two beat reporters primarily. I guess there's a few of them, including Anthony Slater and Alms of ESPN. But Danny Everman is a beat reporter covering the Warriors for the Merc News. He was on our program a couple weeks ago, and I loved having him on. He's going to be back on again soon. And he wrote a story about, it was a profile piece on Draymond Green. He went to Saginaw, Michigan with Draymond, met his mom, went to the house. It's a great piece. But let's not forget the Saginaw, Michigan that exists within Draymond Green. That is a gritty part of this country. And when people are hooping there, they're talking. And they're sometimes fighting. And that's Draymond, man. He did not grow up in privilege. He didn't grow up in a setting or environment where
he is the direct descendant of the Flintstones. That the Tom Izzo boys from Flint, the team. Those teams were just like, they beat you on skill, and they also beat you on, like, they will physically beat up your team. Like they will take you out back and whoop your ass and then win by 11. Like, they were just bad motherfuckers. And everyone saw it. And Draymond, I think, fell in love with Michigan State and that team. And that's what brought him to Izzo. And Tom Izzo's id is living with inside Draymond. I mean, Draymond could be the next head coach of Michigan State, man. He'd be the perfect replacement for Izzo, because he's that much of just a badass. I mean, they ain't making men like that everywhere all over the country.
No.
That's what I love Draymond for. By the way, they ain't making sandwiches like this anywhere. Ooh. Go ahead and get yourself to Ike's and do it. My good friend Ike is a sandwich literally with my name on it that you can put in your mouth. There are a lot of different sandwiches. No matter what you like in a sandwich, he's got it for you. Go to Ike's. Consider Ike's Catering. If you are ordering for your office, for a party, maybe you got friends coming over for a big weekend of college football or basketball coming up for your brackets, go straight to the Final Four of good lunch choices. Get Ike's. Hopefully there's one around you. Open up the app, subscribe to Ike's Rewards program. You'll be very happy that you did. And oh, by the way, a great place to watch the NCAA tournament is at the Dubliner. They got the TVs. They got all the booze you could need. They got the right look. Hey, go Aztecs. Is it Aztecs?
Aztecs for life, baby. Hell
there
yeah.
You go. Hey, my Hoosiers hired a coach. I'm not going to pretend that I'm thrilled over the moon, but I liked his opening press conference. He says the right things. He's talking about building a program, not giving, he said a lot of, he won the press conference. Congratulations, Coach DeVries won the press conference today in Bloomington. I don't know. We'll see. Freaking stress, man. Anyways, go to the Dubliner. I need a Guinness. I go to the Dubliner. Whenever I need a Guinness, I go to the Dubliner.
Best beer. My favorite beer is Guinness. I hope to go to Ireland soon. I think I'm going to go next year for my first visit, just so I can drink some Guinness and chat it up with some locals. I'm looking forward to that. And the Dubliner sounds like the closest replication to that here in the good old US of A. Today's episode, speaking of the beautiful country we live in, brought to you by Visit Humboldt. Representing one of the finest parts of our great land and California. Go to visithumboldt.com for information on places to stay, things to do. You could also DM me, a former alma mater of Humboldt State University, a.k.a. Cal Poly Humboldt. I went to school there for 2 years and then transferred SDSU, the ultimate alma mater.
Cal Poly Humboldt what's the mascot?
Lumberjacks.
Fuck yeah. Trees, baby. Trees. They should just change that to right now. But welcome to the Humboldt Trees. Yeah, man.
Might as well just go all out and say the Humboldt purple oracles, the the Humboldt train wreck, all these the best Humboldt strains. Let's just call it. But regardless,
Humboldt purple kosher here tonight.
But there's a going back real fast to the ad read, and all kidding aside, breweries are a feature there as well. Whatever it is that fits your taste, go to visithumboldt.com or DM me, and I'll give you pointers on things to do.
We break for supers, especially when they compliment the hosts. HR says Cy knows his shit when it comes to Warriors hoops. He's a Warriors hoops nut. I am here for it. Yeah, we are here for it. We return each and every Wednesday.
That means
that is the plan. I guess we got to have the programming note here, Cyrus, in the middle of a month from now, the third week of April. We will not be doing a Warriors Weekly.
Oh, no.
I'm going to be in Tokyo.
What?
Going to Tokyo with Jillian for the first time in my life. She has to be there on a business trip. So I'm going to be Scarlett Johansson and go with my spouse to Tokyo and sit by a window and hope to meet my Bill Murray somewhere in Tokyo. It's going to be a good time.
Are you excited for this trip? I've never had much of a desire to visit Japan, but that's just me.
It's on the top of the list of places I have wanted to go. So I'm not into anime. I'm not into any of that Hello Kitty shit at all. But I'll tell you what.
You're right. You liar. You know you wear pajamas that have Hello Kitty on it. Stop lying to the audience.
I love ninjas. I love ramen. I love sushi. I'm in for Tokyo, baby. Let's go. I will crush some karaoke. And that's big over there. So we'll see what happens.
All kidding aside, first of all, Erwin Kwong in the chat saying Humboldt State's uniforms are flannel. Bravo. That's a great call there. But no, the only reason I've heard one of my best friends, Avi Ashed, shout out to you, a very successful executive producer in Hollywood. He once went to Tokyo for a film shoot. And he told me that it's not a very social scene. And that's the biggest reason why I haven't had much of a desire to go is he said people keep to themselves. They're not super welcoming to tourists and visitors. I can't wait to hear your feedback. I mean, I've heard
it's the opposite. I heard that people are coming up to you to make sure you're pointed in the right direction and come forward. I've never known. Here's the thing. What I'm really excited about is to throw myself into a monoculture that is nothing like ours, that isn't a melting pot.
I like that.
I have never, I have not done much travel globally. First of all, Mexico and Canada do not count. So
depends on where in Mexico. Yeah, there are some places that you could say are pretty far out there, but I hear what you're saying too.
Fair enough.
Like Cancun doesn't count, Cabo doesn't count, but I'm with you.
And Cancun does not count as Mexico. No. Okay, it doesn't at all. So I've done Amsterdam, I've done London, and I've done Paris, and spectacular places. You must get to all three, but it really is. It's white people, but older. It's this. You see the origins of all your Anglo-Saxon culture, and there it is. And I am really looking forward to being plunged into something where I can't even read that street sign. I don't know where I don't know where I am. I don't know what I'm doing. Thank God Google Maps makes it all easier, and Google Translate means we can get around. And apparently Japan is so staggeringly efficient. It's very easy. I'll report back. I'm absolutely, someone's like, you got to go live from Tokyo. We will be going live from Tokyo. I promise. There's going to be all sorts of weird time changes, day changes. I'll be in the future. I think I'm a day ahead of you when I get out there. I'm going to be covering the NFL draft in Tokyo. I don't know about any other Niner content creator who's going to be covering this bad boy in Tokyo.
No, that's a unique angle there.
That's a unique angle. People are asking me, am I going to go see Joji? No, Joji actually lives in Hawaii now. Our guy who's in here all the time.
Regular. Okay.
I'm really, really looking forward to it. Joji comes from Japan, but he now lives in Hawaii. So, it's a little, you can't take a bullet train to come see me. I get it.
Speaking of bullet trains, that they literally have, that's one of my, one of the first eye-opening things for me when I traveled abroad. My first time was seeing public transportation globally. and how much further ahead they are than here in the U.S. We love our cars here, and the
Right.
influence, the lobbying
Oh,
influence.
the fact we don't have a bullet train between San Francisco and Los Angeles is criminal.
Well, and even when we approve it, then welcome to bureaucracy, welcome to thievery. I mean, I don't know how many tens of billions of dollars have gone into this high speed thing in California, and there's nothing to show for it. It's absurd. And I don't mean to get political. I apologize, but my point is, when you go around the world, and I'm with you, man. I like to travel to places where English is not the first language. It's challenging. If you love learning different languages, it increases your acumen. Your brain, like anything where you put your brain in challenging situations like that, I'm of the belief it makes you smarter because you're actually exercising your brain at that point. You're gaining new perspective. Anyway, so I like to travel to places where English is not the predominant language. And that's one of the many things that sticks out is other societies have figured out how people can get from point A to point B a hell of a lot more efficiently than we do here in the US of A. And that's largely because of our automobile industry and our love for it. But I digress. Dude, Tokyo, that sounds amazing, brother. I can't wait to get the feedback.
Especially on, the wife's corporate dime. We're staying in nice hotels. We're going to eat well. So,
are the kids coming?
No.
Oh, then you're truly set. Oh my God, this is vacation.
So I think like the Tokyo Giants might be in town. I'm going to try to go to a game at the Tokyo Dome. Try to go to a Japanese baseball game. The one thing that it's supposed to be familiar to me, but I'm sure will be totally different all at the same time. I can't wait to see the differences. I'm so excited. Let's see. There was we got a guy on here. Hold on. Wait, that's not what I want to bring up. There's one guy who's like, geishas give great blowjob. I'm going with my wife. Yeah. So
highlight it. I want to read it. Which one are you looking at? Who cares?
Japan has some of the most females. Look at it this way. Do you watch White Lotus? I don't think you're going to be getting a Sam Rockwell monologue out of me after
I haven't seen the new one yet. No spoilers, please. No spoilers. But I haven't watched the newest episode yet.
Sam Rockwell gives a monologue for the ages.
All right.
Shall we say.
Oh, I can't wait.
Well, look at it this way. I'd say for the ages, but it's certainly not for anyone under the age of adulthood. It's a very adult monologue that Sam Rockwell gives.
Great actor, by the way. Great actor.
He is a great actor.
Great show. I just haven't seen the most recent episode that aired a few days ago. So thank you for not spoiling it. No, I can't wait to see it. Good stuff. And I can't believe you're going to Japan without the kids. That's a game changer.
That's the game.
And I wish you should have started with that because it's a night and day trip for you with and without kids. Now I know you're going on an actual vacation.
Yeah.
Have fun, dude.
Do they rent kimonos in Kyoto? So I do want a kimono. One of my favorite moments in TV history is the Jimmy Ray Vaughn Austin City Limits, where Jimmy Ray Vaughn comes out wearing a cowboy hat, a kimono. He is coked out of his mind, and then he lays down the single greatest hour of guitar you've ever seen in your life. Just the peak Jimmy Ray Vaughn in a kimono, wearing a cowboy. I've always wanted to be that guy. I want to be Cocaine Jimmy, Stevie Ray Vaughan, kimono, cowboy hat. Cool. I'll never be that cool in my life.
You might be. But my request of you, Damon, if you don't mind, is when you come back to the States.
Did I say Jimmy Ray Vaughan? Stevie Ray Vaughan. Excuse me. I got my Jimmy Butler in my head.
Well, and I didn't correct you on that. That's my fault as well. Yes, it's Stevie Ray Vaughan. But please wear the kimono on the next.
If I get a kimono, we'll do the kimono on the show.
Thank you. I need to see you in that because that's a sight that to behold, and I'm looking forward to it.
I will do it this way. I'll spare everyone. I will not greet you. Open kimono. Anyway, where else there's a couple of other things that I thought we needed to get into today.
Yeah.
First of all, isn't Brandin Podziemski a curious player? Because when he's there, he seems to add value. And when he's not there, you don't even think of him not playing in this game. Like you don't even realize that you're missing him or he's not playing or he's hurt again. But then when he's there, he's quite a value add. But when he's not there, you don't really miss him. Like, explain that to me. I still can't figure out what Podziemski is, how important he is to this team. There are some nights he looks like he fits like a glove. There are other nights I don't even notice that he's not available. It's really weird.
It is weird.
He looks like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
I think you nailed it in terms of describing his unusual presence on this team. Where, like, for example, Monday night, I don't think anyone missed him. Maybe he would have helped against the Nuggets. I don't know, but I don't think anyone noticed his absence. With that said, I don't think they win the Bucks game without him either, because those threes he hit in the fourth quarter, I think he had 2 threes in the fourth.
They were huge, back-to-back
and
threes.
They were huge. Yes. And look, like Brandin Podziemski, the way I see him is he's going to be that guy. When I say that guy, I don't know if he's going to be an all-star, but he's going to be a legitimate, solid basketball player when Stephen Curry retires and Brandin Podziemski is suddenly the number 1 guy. I think we're going to see the true Brandin Podziemski at that point. That he the way his personality, the way he's wired, like he needs to be a leader of men. Like he needs to be the guy running the show. And that's never going to happen with Steph there. That's not to say that like Brandin Podziemski is useless until that point comes, but I feel like that's where the maximum potential will be unleashed from Podziemski when he's actually the leader of men. And right now he's still learning, and that's fine. You're absolutely right. He's a polarizing figure. Him and Kuminga are like 2 very different polarizing figures. Like they offend the fan base in different ways, but they're both of firecrackers in terms of talking points. And when it comes to Brandin Podziemski, dude, his value is clearly there. He's now hitting his threes, which is huge, because if he's not hitting his 3-pointers, I think it's fair to say he's a liability. He's a liability when he's not hitting the 3-point shot. When he's hitting the 3-point shot, it's a game changer, and he opens the floor. Teams are not guarding him at the 3-point line, so those shots are wide open, and he's taking advantage of it. Good for him, but it's a great call. I think you nailed it. When he's not playing, he's not missed. When he is playing, people are thankful, and it's weird. It is unusual for sure.
It's a little bit like speaking of when the three's not falling, he's not helping. That brings us straight to Buddy Hield, does it not? And did you even see how last night, little post game, quick back and forth with the studio? It's Bonte, Mullen, and Festus talking to Jimmy, and they asked him about Buddy Hield, and he's like, man, Buddy gives us a little bit of defense when that shot's falling. In other words, when the shot doesn't fall, he sulks a little bit and he's useless. But when the shot's falling, we actually get a little bit of a decent defender out of him too. And that's how we go and win games. It's not just the 18 points that Buddy brings to the nights where he gets it. The Warriors are undefeated when Buddy Hield scores 18 magical points. It's because when Buddy Hield scores his 18 points, he's actually giving you a defensive effort too that goes along with it. And they
have one loss. They have one loss with that mark.
Okay, one loss. Yeah.
But no, who cares? But I just wanted, just in case the people who actually are fixated on these little things, I wanted to make them feel better. There is one loss. They exist. Those are
the best audience members there are. It's Jimmy Ray. It's Stevie Ray Vaughan, not Jimmy, you fucker.
Yeah, it's fun. But I hear what you said. Dude, the Buddy Hield thing is like last night, for example, the dude was 4 of 6 from 3. And when he's doing that, it's great. The biggest problem I have with Buddy when he misses his 3-point shots is the Warriors are not the best team when it comes to transition defense. I don't think they're no longer like among the worst teams in the NBA in that department, but they're still not elite at it. And every time you miss those 3-pointers, teams are running, they're pushing, and they're getting open threes. That's the part that's most excruciating with Buddy Hield. And when he's not having a shooting night, is those bricks. Those are long rebounds, and teams are pushing immediately.
Right. Starting a fast break for your opponent.
Dude, but those shots are wide open. And I'm sure a lot of Warriors fans are resonating with this right now. Like, there are moments in Warriors games where other teams are just going on these flurries where they're just like the most random players are hitting 3-pointers, and you're thinking to yourself, what the hell is going on here? And a huge part of it is the transition. It's because players like Buddy Hield take these threes that are not going in, they're bricked, and the Warriors defense doesn't have time to settle on the other end of the court, and teams are getting wide open looks. It's also why I like, for example, when people focus on Jonathan Kuminga and his free throw shooting. Last night, he was a perfect 6 of 6 from the free throw line, but that's not a part of his game that he has mastered yet. He's a career 70% free throw shooter approximately. Right. But the reason why I don't focus on the free throws, the missed free throws, as much as other people do, is because just getting to the line by itself. Yes, it helps the defense so much. I would rather have Kuminga going 0 for 2 from the free throw line than him missing a field goal attempt, because a missed field goal attempt means the other team's pushing. Everybody pushes the ball now. No one's like walking the ball up the court unless you're the LA Lakers when LeBron's playing. Everyone pushes the ball now. So every time you miss a field goal, you're at a disadvantage defensively. And the fact that Kuminga is one of the only players on this team getting to the free throw line consistently should not be downplayed. That is very important. It's a huge part of what he brings to the table. And we see it with Jimmy Butler as well, who was a perfect 11 of 11 from the free throw line in last night's game. Free throws settle teams. They help you defensively. And when Buddy Hield's breaking, it's the complete opposite.
We break for supers. Listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan's cover of Little Wing today, Cry Tears of Beauty.
I will listen to that right after the show.
And I'm telling you, couldn't stand the weather. It's got I think it's the best intro in music. It's the bass intro and then the pregnant pause.
Sign me up. Sign me up.
Oh, man, come on. All right. Let's see. We're talking about the Warriors having as weird a 48 hours as you can have. They're not allowed to have the kind of night off that they took against the Denver Nuggets. And I was angry at them. And a lot of people are like, Damon, it's just one game. You're overreacting. But it's not just one game anymore. This is the putting on the big boy pants. This is who you are for the rest of the year. This is the basketball that matters. There are no more nights off. Wouldn't just chalk it up to a bad night in the NBA. No, not anymore. It's March. March means lock in basketball everywhere. There's no excuses to not be locked in right now. So I was very upset that they weren't locked in at all on Monday. And then to turn around and beat the Bucks again, that was good.
And to not lock in against the Nuggets of all team. Like it was borderline shameful, man. It
really was.
And they've lost 9 in a row to the Nuggets now. They have not beaten Denver since the 2022 playoffs. There is ownage there. The Nuggets legitimately scare me for very good reason. You mentioned their size being a problem. I wholeheartedly agree. But the biggest problem with that game Monday was not the Nuggets' size, which was an issue. It was the Warriors' effort, the urgency. They did not show up, man. And I am confident, with all that said, when they play again on April 4th, I think we're going to see a different version of the Warriors show up, unless we see gamesmanship.
I mean, I hope. I just, how about this? If at any point in time you're playing the Denver Nuggets and it's Jokic and Murray and Aaron Gordon is playing like Amari Stoudemire at his peak.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, he was, I didn't know Aaron Gordon was that good as he would look, as the Warriors made him look on Monday night. He was spectacular. He was the best player on the court. And you got a vintage game out of Russell Westbrook, who is one triple-double away now from tying Oscar Robertson's career triple-double mark or whatever it is. So,
and he hit that dagger 3. And this is where, again, I don't mean to criticize GP2, but the defense this year is just not the same as 2022. Still incredibly good. I mean, don't get me wrong, but 2022 was special. I bring that up because Russell Westbrook hit that dagger 3 with GP2 right in his face. That does not happen 3 years ago. It's insane. Russell Westbrook, that whole game is just a nightmare. It pisses me off.
GP2 last night, in a moment where Dame Lillard was looking for this is about to get tighter than you want it to be with 90 seconds left. 3 did a great job on locking up Dame and giving him a real tough look at 3 late in that game. As big of a defensive moment in a game that was full of defensive moments, thanks to that battle that we saw with Jimmy Butler and Draymond taking on Giannis and Dame, and it was really good stuff. Last note before we get into today's slice of history.
Well, even before that, Damon, just because I don't want to let this go, in the chat, your boy Trace Jackson Davis, Chef A at 11:57 a.m. wrote that Trace Jackson Davis flamed out. I think Kalena Azubuike and Fitzgerald were saying he wasn't playing because of the rotation. There's just not enough minutes for him. Chef A is calling BS that Trace Jackson Davis just can't finish anymore. That's kind of crazy. What do you think?
I'm telling you, the Trace Jackson Davis has no jump shot, and he's been awful around the rim, and you can't be both.
He played last night. I don't know if you have a take on that, but
did Trace hit the court? Whatever it wasn't in minutes where I was locked in.
It was like, I think it was in the second quarter. Correct me if I'm wrong. If anyone in the chat remembers, I don't remember the exact
quarter's bedtime for the boys. We're tucking boys. I really get to lock into Warriors games from about halftime on because it's
That's
dinner,
fair. That's
time,
fair. That's
halftime, all that stuff before.
You're a family man. He played 4 minutes 22 seconds, and I thought defensively he did okay, but he missed like he did what he's been doing all year, like this easy layup / putback, whatever it was. It rimmed out, and he's been doing that a lot this year. Sorry to.
Yeah, no, he short arms a lot of stuff, and I don't understand why he plays like he's got Tyrannosaurus Rex arms because he doesn't have like short arms. I look, it's hard to be a big man in year 2 when the league saw what you got. They're adjusting to you.
Yes.
Even though he's a little bit older of a young player in this league, it still chews up and spits out big men all the time. I think Trace is a year away still from really being a consistent NBA entity and factor, which is definitely off the path that it looked like he was beating for himself at the end of last year. But progress is not linear. I think there has been regression. And all I know is that I really believe he's in the right situation with the right teammates who will preach patience and discipline and work ethic. And Trace has all of that baked into him. If he can get better, he will. And if he can't get better, he won't be in the league very long. That's the way this works. It doesn't matter how much we like him. What does he do when he gets out on the floor? If that doesn't start improving, he will lose minutes, and he has lost minutes to Quinten Post, which is where I wanted to go for our final topic.
Oh, there you go. Nice segue. There you go. Good transition.
So Quinten Post has taken Trace's minutes, and he's earned them because he's the stretch 5 that they've been looking for and kind of, haven't really had. What's also amazing about this young big who is out there shooting threes is the volume at which he's doing it early in his career, especially when you compare it to who. And that's what Ron Krojcek of the San Francisco Chronicle did last night in a tweet that I saw. He said, this stat conveys how much basketball has changed in the past 15 years. Quinten Post has made 53 three-point shots in his first 31 career games.
Wow.
Steph Curry made 40 in his first 31 career games.
Incredible. That's incredible.
Now, Steph in his rookie year was not wearing the crown of greatest shooter of all time. He was the greatest shooter we've ever seen come out of Davidson. And that's all he was at that point in time in his career. As the 7th pick in the draft, knowing that he could shoot from anywhere in the gym, you had a young Steph Curry hitting 40 threes in his first 31 games. Now you got Quinten Post, who's a two-way call-up, a second-round draft pick, letting him fly like he's Reggie Miller the minute he gets into the league. And that is the change in basketball, the evolution that Steph himself and the Warriors themselves are really responsible for ushering in.
Yeah.
But how about a kid who should be out there nervous to shoot because of who he is, how long he's been here, and where he's drafted, is going through racks of corner threes. I mean, it's just something else. That is the change in the game. And just to sort of illustrate how dramatically everything has changed here, I went and I looked this up because I have an argument that if today's basketball had been applied to Reggie Miller is maybe the NBA's all-time leading scorer, or certainly in the top 4 or 5. If today's level of shooting like this applied to when Reggie played, Reggie Miller in his career, he left the NBA with the most amount of threes ever made. When he left the NBA, he had hit 2,563 pointers, averaging 4.7 attempts per game. Reggie Miller didn't even take 5 threes a game throughout his career. Just to let you know, Steph Curry almost has doubled that. Curry, his career average is 9.3 threes attempted per game. So he is shooting twice the amount of threes per game than Reggie Miller ever even thought of. Reggie Miller in today's NBA is way past 4,000 threes where Steph just crossed that line. First man to ever do it. I'm telling you, Reggie Miller would have pushed this fucking thing to like 5,000 career threes had the three been shot like it is now when he played. Even more dramatically, Larry Bird is one of the single greatest shooters of all time.
I was about to bring his name up.
He played in an era so differently.
Yeah.
Do you realize that Steph has made more threes over his last 3 seasons than Larry Bird has in his entire career? Larry Bird hit 649 threes in his career. He didn't even attempt 2 threes per game. His career average is 1.9 threes per game, and he had 4 seasons where he shot fewer than 1 threes per game. One of the greatest shooters of all time. That's how different the game was.
Yeah, it's crazy. A good call by Leo Giancarlo in the chat, bringing up that Draymond Green over his career has more threes made than Larry Bird. That does not represent reality in terms of those two players and their shooting skills.
That's amazing. But isn't that a kind of amazing there?
Not kind of. It's mind-blowingly amazing. I asked Rick Barry this, a regular guest of Golden Days, about what his thoughts were about the stretch 5, because conceptually that was not a thing until recent history. And I asked him, I'm like, did you guys ever even think about a player like Quinten Post on your teams in the 70s and 80s? He's like, no, that just was not that no one even thought of that. Like,
you know what basketball players used to call big men at the 3-point line? Pussies.
It was good. Look, it's just crazy.
It's the truth. If you were taller than 6'8",
there was soft,
if you were taller than 6'8" and you were hanging out at the 3-point line, you were soft. You didn't want to go down and catch an elbow in your kidney. That's what that was. So it's just totally different game. And there you go. What a big road ahead for the Warriors. They host.
I like HR in the chat, by the way. Sorry to interrupt, but Larry HR in the chat mentioned that Larry Bird was drinking beers at halftime, and I don't know if there's a correlation between the beers and his body and his back, more specifically, breaking down. But yeah, he was drinking beers like it was going out of style. Larry Bird was an awesome individual.
You want to know how Larry Bird? You want to know how Larry Bird hurt his back?
How?
Repaving his own driveway.
Is that a true story? I've heard that, but is that
Larry Bird was so stubborn that even though he was rich, like all men in Indiana, they say, well, I can do that home project. And he hurt his back paving his own driveway instead of just paying a paving company to do that. I mean, that is some French lick stubbornness that, again, no longer exists. Do you think there's a single NBA player coming off of an all-star appearance who would pave his own driveway in 2025?
I like it, man. He was a humble man, dude. I respect that. What are your thoughts on Armando Lara, the professor in the chat, saying no one called Bill Laimbeer a pussy, and he was heaving threes? Your thoughts?
We can go back and talk about Bill Laimbeer's career, and 3-point shooter will be, no one will describe him as a 3-point shooter.
That's fair.
He could, but Bill was not really hanging out there. And let me tell you right now, if Bill Laimbeer was out there, you had John Sally just kicking dudes in the dick in the lane. So that's what those Pistons were.
It was just a weird, like the big shooting threes back. Like Manud Bol is the guy who always sticks out to me because he had that weird a stroke where his elbow would like cock almost up to his head before he shot it, and it was relatively efficient. It wasn't like it didn't hurt the team, but you're right, it was rare. Like I think of Minute Laimbeer did sometimes heave up threes. It wasn't a common thing. It wasn't like you're right, he wasn't hanging out in the perimeter. He was battling inside, but it's just crazy, man. The evolution of this game is insane. Like Kareem was not putting up threes. I'm guessing he had maybe 2 all-time 3-point attempts in his entire career.
I mean, did he even try to let it go with a sky hook?
From 3. Could you imagine
from 3?
And you know what's crazy? He probably could master that. He just never practiced it. I bet you he probably would get good at it if he practiced it. Kareem in his prime, not.
I think, yeah. He. How about this? don't underestimate that guy. You know? Like, there are a few guys to bet against. He's probably not one of them. Long road ahead for the Warriors. They got Toronto on Thursday. And I'll tell you, this 6-game road trip, their last big road trip of the year, there's a lot of winnable opponents out here, Cyrus. They're at Atlanta, at Miami, at New Orleans, at San Antonio, at Memphis. Then they come back to the West Coast at the Lakers. I'd love to see a 4-2 6-game road trip. Obviously, take care of your business against Toronto on Thursday. And then just, lay it and hopefully it plays. Hopefully we see regression from the Clippers. Hopefully we see regression from the Timberwolves. Maybe, some teams in front of them in the standings will come back to them a little bit, but I don't care about them improving their seeding. I just don't want them to fall back to the 7. If they're 6, I'm good.
I mean, I would prefer 5 in all honesty. I've been talking about this in terms of the postseason and how this could shake down. Look, you're right. Them just getting to the playoffs is night and day versus the play-in. You don't want the play-in. Let's just avoid that at all costs. But if the Warriors can climb up to the 4-5, the Warriors themselves, the players, the coaches, they feel ready for OKC. They've already beat them twice. They almost beat them a third time. You ask any of those players off the record, because on the record, I don't know if they'll be honest with you and give fuel to OKC, but off the record, I guarantee that the Warriors players feel comfortable playing against OKC. If you can get that matchup in the second round, and if you can get the 4-5 in the first round, which likely, although who knows how this is going to shake out, but you want to avoid the Nuggets first round at all costs. I think you'd like to avoid the Lakers in the first round if possible. So 4-5 will more than likely give you like a Rockets or a Grizzlies matchup, although who ultimately knows because everything's so close. My point is I think 4-5 is a more optimal goal in terms of seeding. And it's very realistic. They're only, 2.5, 3 games back right now currently in the standings for the 5 seed. And some of those teams like the Lakers have a very difficult strength of schedule remaining in the season. You bring up how the Warriors have been doing, by the way. I previewed the month of March in the schedule by saying that the Warriors need to win a minimum of 10 games, which would have resulted in a 10-4 record. They have 1 loss in the month of March. Well, I'm sorry, 2, because March 1st was the Philly game. But so far, they have 2 losses in the month of March. They're likely going to finish ahead of the 10-4 that I said they had to reach. This has been this is fantastic, dude. Everything about this is phenomenal. The schedule I'm looking at on my phone, Damon, and I don't know what happened here because early in the season, I got one of these Warriors wallpapers with every game. Originally, the Warriors were supposed to play the Bucks on Thursday. I don't know, and then something changed where the Bucks game got moved to Tuesday, and now the Raptors are the opponent tomorrow. And then the road trip starts where the Warriors play the Hawks. They play the Miami Heat, which Jimmy Butler's homecoming. That should be interesting. And Andrew Wiggins as well. New Orleans Pelicans, the San Antonio Spurs, the Memphis Grizzlies, and then the LA Lakers. So it starts off easy. It ends on a very challenging note. Memphis and the Lakers before the Warriors play the Nuggets again. That's what's coming up, brother. Any thoughts on that?
What's the Wiggins revenge game against the Warriors going to look like? Do you think Wiggins? Wiggins. DNP.
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 Sorry.
Bereavement. Yeah. I'm going to say he's just 15-8. Just Joe Wiggins. Just, nothing spectacular. Just nothing. You'd think like, oh, here's the game where he's going to care. He's going to he's going to want this. No, it's not who he is. All right. Time for a little day in history.
Before we do that real fast, a quick question for you real fast before we go. The Warriors currently are 40-29. There's 13 games remaining in the season. As crazy as that sounds, that's the reality. We're almost there to the postseason, and that's where the real fun begins. Will the Warriors hit the 50-win mark, Damon? They got to go 10-3 the remainder of the season.
I was about to say, they got to wrap up 10-3. I'm going to feel good about 10-3 if they come home at 10-3. So they get to 50 wins. That's a good year.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. God damn. 50 wins. That would be impressive. I'm fascinated to see if they're going to hit that mark. Fascinating.
Look at it this way. If they go 10-3, they're the 6th at worst, right? They go
At
10 and
worst.
3. They're the 6 at worst, and they might be the 5. So, yeah, go do that. We highly suggest it. Highly suggested. Here we go. A little today in history. We start with happy birthdays. Happy birthday, Bruce Willis. 70 years old, born today in 1955. Cyrus, he's not doing well. He's got
That breaks my
dementia.
heart. I know that whole thing breaks, because Bruce Willis was someone I grew up with as a movie star, Die Hard. I was like, I mean,
Absolutely.
it breaks my heart to see what happened, man.
You watch Moonlighting? Did you like
I
Moonlighting?
did, yes, with
Yeah.
Sybil Shepherd, yeah. I was a Bruce Willis guy. I even remember the Miami Vice episode where he played the drug dealer. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
Bruce Willis was awesome, dude, and it's just sad. Yeah, he's deteriorating mentally.
Happy birthday, Glenn Close. Born today, 1947. She's 78. Glenn Close, obviously famous for boiling the rabbit and Fatal Attraction. You're not going to ignore me, Dan, or whatever it was. Whatever. I can't remember the name of the character. But her turn as Robin Williams' mom in the World According to Garp. She's great in that too. Okay, so here we go. It's John Lithgow giving us his ode to trannies in that as well. John Lithgow.
Okay. Great actor, John Lithgow. He's a fantastic
Great actor.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else we got going on? How about this?
That's it for birthdays. So March
Not a big
19th.
birthday day. Not a big
Not a
birthday,
big birthday day. Okay.
But
I mean, those are two big names. I respect
a little
that.
history. Here we go. A little history today.
And the Glenn, and real fast before we get to the history, the Glenn Close birthday. What was the name of the movie where she burned the rabbit? It's
Fatal Attraction.
Fatal Attraction. Thank you. It made me think of Michael Douglas and how lucky of a man he has been his entire life.
Oh,
I mean, his entire life. Like, the dude just had, I mean, if he actually could write his whole autobiography truthfully from beginning to end, it would make a lot of people envious.
There'd be a lot of women's names in that autobiography.
Exactly.
And alphabetically, it would end with Zeta Jones, which is, it's nice. It's chronological. It's alphabetical. It's respectful. I still think of her butt in the movie Entrapment going under the.
Sean Connery, man. Yeah. That was
good stuff.
He did well.
1687. We're going way back in history for this one. While on an expedition to find the mouth of the Mississippi River, a French explorer named René Robert Cavalier Serre de la Salle was murdered by his own men. He must have been a pain in the ass because they killed him when he got to Texas. He had previously claimed a large region around the river, the Mississippi River, for his King of France, Louis, which is why, Cyrus, it is named Louisiana. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
There you go.
Thank you for that. That's good information there.
That's how we got our name, Louisiana, named after a tribute to King Louis. Louis the 16th, 14th?
I was thinking 14th, but there's a bunch of them. Yeah,
I don't know.
A lot of Louis. I did not know Louisiana was named after. I mean, obviously the French influence and culture we're all familiar with, but
the Louisiana Purchase.
And the French side of things is a little fascinating because Louisiana, you would think it just, like deep South and all the stereotypes you could think that associated with that. I remember the first time I was in Louisiana, I woke up in a hotel in Lafayette, Louisiana. Side note, best crab cakes I've ever had in my life was in that town. And the people there are big. They're very large. And this extends
there
to
are larger humans in the South. There is no doubt about that.
Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana. The people there are just bigger. I'm not making that up. But the French culture is fascinating to me, that in a region like that in the deep South, you have some French, like people can speak it.
I love the Creole. I love it. Absolutely love it. Lovely ladies too. Let me say thank you to President Woodrow Wilson, who back in 1918 signed the Standard Time Act that established daylight savings time, which I know no one's a really big fan of, but it also gave us time zones, which we certainly need. Could you imagine if 9 o'clock on the East Coast were called 9 o'clock on the West Coast too, all at the same time? Like, thank God we got time zones. So thank you very much, Woodrow Wilson. Today in 1918, big decisions were made.
Shardal is back. I don't know if Shardal joins your show, Damon. I haven't seen this guy in like 3 days, so he's back. Welcome back, Shardal. Going back to the time zone thing.
Yes.
I don't know if you agree with me on this or not. I think daylight savings is actually popular. I think it's the switching back and forth that people have a problem with. And I could be wrong on this. We're in daylight savings now. I would like it. It's just me. I would like it if we stopped switching. If we just kept it the way it is now. I like daylight staying on later. I don't know. That's just me. What do you think?
100%. We don't need the crack of dawn daylight because we're no longer an agricultural society.
Yes.
It's not about getting up to, tend to the field and milk the cows and get the eggs from the chickens. I mean, it is for some people, but the rest of us shouldn't be marching to that drum. Keep it. Give me as much daylight into the evening as you can.
It should not be dark at 5 or 4. That's just absurd to me, man. Matt Brotherton, by the way, is right. He writes in the chat, too, that China, the country, has no time zones. It's just one time, whether you're in the far east or west, which is crazy to me. I don't know how that works exactly, given it is a large country. Your thoughts, Damon?
Yeah, I guess when someone asks you in China what time it is, they're like, you know what time it is.
You know what it is. You know
what it is. No matter where you are, you know what it is.
Don't you effing dare ask me that question, you son of a bitch. What are you, a Democrat? You believe in democracy? How dare you? Today
in 1931, we can almost say happy birthday, Las Vegas, because today in 1931, Nevada legalized gambling, which changed everything. We've probably taken the whole legalized gambling thing a little too far.
Gamble responsibly.
And at that point, I guess we'll tell you to go ahead and check out Cyrus's betting website.
Don't you have a betting website too, or are you not allowed to mention that today? Or is that...
We'll maybe pick them back up as a sponsor when we come back around to football season.
There you go. Good stuff. And again, folks, please do gamble responsibly. I want to make it very clear. I'm never betting more than I can afford to. I think that's what you have to follow. Don't bet money you don't have, dude. Don't ruin your life because of this. Gamble responsibly. Bet amounts that you can afford to spend. And if you lose and you run out of the money, stop. Okay. And if you have addiction issues, go get help, please. Because if you're addicted to gambling, and I've seen it, it's ugly. Get some help. Please.
Speaking of getting some help, please. Today in 1983, First Lady Nancy Reagan made an appearance on Different Strokes to begin her Just Say No anti-drug campaign. Just Say No t-shirts were ever present in my childhood. I'm sure they were to everyone. Your dare to keep kids off drugs. Man, hey, you know what? Here's the thing. For kids, stay off drugs. It's a good message. She didn't screw that up. For the rest of us, it's a negotiation. But kids, don't do drugs.
Not to mention that how many billions of dollars, maybe it was even trillions of dollars, did they invest into this stupid campaign? Yeah, you're right. I remember I was in high school, Damon, true story, and I was part of a DARE campaign. They would always try to get high schoolers to come to grammar schools. And so it was like this volunteer thing. Myself and a few other high school students, we went to a grammar school and told the kids. Would they bring
you in as the before example?
No, but what I was going to say is we'd go in there and we even I remember my mom helped me out and we made certificates for them and all this cute stuff. And then literally an hour later, I'm with my buddies in the parking lot smoking a joint. It was the most hypocritical thing ever. And this whole war on drugs is lunacy, dude. Stop wasting money on it, man. Let people live. And you're right, though. Don't, obviously, children, stay the F away from it. Right. But to me, the most common sense message to children when it comes to booze, weed, you name it, is this. Do you want to be a smart, normally functioning human being later in life? If the answer is yes, hold off on putting that stuff in your body until your brain is developed. And otherwise, you're going to pay the price. Cigarettes will stunt your growth. That's a true story. So if you want to be a tall male, stop smoking cigarettes. Wait until you're an adult. Just wait, children. Hold off. Don't do things now that you're going to have consequences you have to deal with later in life. Is that a smart message, Damon? And is that an effective message?
No, it's a very smart message. I was just, It's why kids shouldn't be allowed to get tattoos. You might not feel this way. When
Yes,
you're
that's
you know what I mean.
That's a good one. Yes, that's
Yeah.
a good one. Damon. I like that.
There should be nothing that you do in life before the age of 18 that is permanent, because things change.
Good call.
Anyway,
Good call. Yeah.
Let's see. Today in 1987, televangelist Jim Bakker resigned as host of the PTL Club for his involvement in a sex scandal. Cyrus, do you remember the woman's name Jim Bakker was involved with?
Well, there was a Tammy. Was it Tammy, or was that the wife that he cheated on?
That was Tammy Faye Bakker was his wife. Yes, there is a Tammy involved, but that's the spouse he cheated on.
Okay, so I don't know who the
Bakker with the eye makeup and the tears and the running mascara.
That's Tammy. So that's the one. So who was the Flander?
Jessica Hahn. Remember that name? Jessica Hahn.
Hey now,
Jessica Hahn. By the way, there's always one of them in every audience. Jessica Hahn. Here we go, Adrian. You know what I'm talking about.
She was the poster woman, I think, for every teenage boy for a good period of life. Like she was something.
Well, I mean, what you knew is that she was pretty attractive and she puts out. So there you go, Jessica Hahn. Let's see. I only bring this up because clearly rules were not being followed that day. In 1996, one of the worst fires in the history of the Philippines swept through a Manila discotheque. 159 of the 400 souls inside the club lost their lives.
I remember that. That was brutal.
We
had a few of those.
Guess what the nightclub capacity was? Like, this is a fire. This is a fire marshal nightmare.
150, something like that.
Again, there were 159 of the 400 people in there died. The capacity of the nightclub was 35 people.
Jesus. And I was like lowballing. Oh my God.
35. You got 400 people in here. I mean, even if there are a whole bunch of very thin, short Filipinos, that is a lot of nuts to butts in a nightclub that is built for 35 people. You got 400 people in here. That's a disaster waiting to happen. Whoever the fire marshal was probably didn't sleep well that night.
I like San Bruno Mike in the chat evoking what's the character's name in South Park? Goes, drugs are bad. Okay.
Oh yeah, Mr. Mackey. Okay.
Mr. Mackey.
Okay.
Let's not do drugs. Okay. Okay.
Today in 2003, Operation Desert Storm began.
Wow.
A long time ago, right?
Crazy. It doesn't feel like it.
We always have our it's National whatever day, National Cheeseburger Day, National Cheddar Cheese Day, whatever. Today is National Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Day.
Cool.
Were you a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle guy?
I was, and especially which one was the one that wore orange? Was it Michelangelo?
What is it? Michelangelo, Donatello,
Leonardo.
It's all famous artists, right?
Yes. And then there's a fourth one. I can't remember. I forgot what the fourth one was. And then there was the rat too. The
Shredder. I remember that. Shredder. Yeah. Their redhead journalist, photographer, confidant, April O'Neil.
Yes. Oh, so that you're getting deep into it now. Yeah. I love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't think that any modern movie or series has done justice to it, but I grew up. I'm sure you did too, right?
Well, so I was just a
Raphael.
Sorry, Raphael. Thank you very much. I was just a little bit too old to really I had just moved on from out of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I get it.
When they came out, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle that I liked was the original graphic novel that was very much like for adults. Like, I know it became a big kid thing there in the 80s, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles started as a graphic novel for adults. It was violent. It was great. And I was never a big comic book guy, but I liked their graphic novels. I liked The Punisher. That's what those were the graphic novels that I watched and I read.
I don't know if you've been watching. I could do this conversation all day. I don't know if you've been watching the newest Daredevil. Daredevil?
I have not. I've been so scarred by the terrible Ben Affleck, what's her name, Capital One.
Okay. So you and Jillian, you now have something to watch that'll occupy you for like a month. the Daredevil series, and this originally started on Netflix. This was before like Disney took over all of the Marvel properties. Like, so Daredevil,
It's on Disney Plus now, right? It's on
now it's all on Disney Plus. Yes,
Okay.
but the Daredevil series originated on Netflix because weirdly a few Marvel characters had shows there. Like, and Daredevil was one of them. Awesome show. Like, and Punisher is his character is part of the Daredevil show. So, and I think he has his own show coming on now. The Daredevil show with Charlie Cox. That's the actor who plays Daredevil now. Phenomenal. And it's been on hiatus for a few years. And then Kevin Feige, whatever however you pronounce his last name, the guy who runs the whole Marvel operation, he picked it back up. Thankfully, brought the same actor back. And dude, it is such good television.
It's
Enjoy.
good?
Let me know what you think. It's great. It is. It is nothing like the Ben Affleck movie, man. Just throw that one away.
I gotta be honest, like I'm a little like I'm good with all comic book movies. Like I'm good. I'm done.
Daredevil the series. It's gritty. It's very good. I strongly recommend it. I was a comic book guy growing up too, so I did not know Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles originated as an adult level comic. Like I didn't know there was a darkness to it. So that's fascinating. I like it, but I was a huge comic book kid growing up, man. Yeah, I love that stuff.
By the way, we got a second right here. Daredevil, have to watch it. Adrian Gutierrez coming in there endorsing it. And we got, oh my God, it's Manny saying for 1 year we didn't change an hour in Florida.
That's true.
So
what happened? I know Florida's like their legislators, like all of their representatives are the ones pushing hardest to make daylight savings permanent.
Yeah,
I don't agree with a lot of what happens in Florida. I do agree with that, though.
I'm good with that. Most of the state of Indiana never touches its clocks. Never touches its clocks. It just goes along with the Eastern time zone, whatever, it just goes along. Where there's a little region around, it's even called the region, right outside of Chicago, Hammond, Indiana, Gary, Indiana, that is so close to Chicago, it's on Chicago time. So all of the state of Indiana is on East Coast time, except for the part of Indiana that's closest to Chicago, which is on Midwestern time. And I feel like we've already talked way too much.
No, I like this stuff. Something tells me the audience likes this. I could be wrong on that, but I love this stuff, man. Good stuff. I didn't know. And Jim Define is right. Arizona, I think, is permanent daylight savings. I know Hawaii sticks to just one time. They don't switch back and forth. It needs to be a federal thing, man. I don't know about you, but these time changes, especially as we're getting older now, like they wear on you, man. Like it takes like sometimes a week, maybe more to adjust. I'm tired of this. Just make it permanent.
It just a week to get over an hour. But I got to take a fucking nap.
I don't know. It takes me a little while, dude. Like the adjustment to this, like to where we are now, it takes a day or two. But when we switch back and it gets dark early, like it shakes me, man. And if you want to make fun of me for that, so be it. That's fair. I'm fair game. But it messes me up, dude. It really does. I hate it.
Let's get Cyrus's beauty sleep and let's get back to next Wednesday, my friend. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Love you, brother. Absolutely, man. Go Dubs.
There he is. Thank you very much for tuning in. And folks, please do remember that sports don't build character. They reveal it. And like that, hold on, wait a minute. It's Manny coming in. Puerto Rico never changes. Don't you go changing on us, Puerto Rico. You never change. Thank you very much. And please do remember, sports don't build character. They reveal where. Oh yeah, they're gone. Goodbye.